State Representative Lyle Rowland and his wife Glenda are back there in the corner. We have the Berry County Treasurer, Lois Lowe, and her husband Pard back there. She's the girl that has all our money. There are several other anniversaries that there are probably more than I know about that happen almost contiguously with ours. Don and Nikki Weber are celebrating 25 years, and Bob and Debbie Berger, 40 years, I think, and Jerry and Ruth Pinkley, their anniversaries are right about now. I don't know how many, but I imagine it's a staggering amount. And the same with Ed and Donna Fronebarger. They've just had a big anniversary. And Terry and Chris Edwards, I think, celebrated 21 years today or yesterday. Yeah, so there's probably several more that I don't know about. When I know about some young people, young friends are about to get married, well, believe it or not, I always tease them about it. And one of my jokes is I always tell them, I didn't know what happiness was until I got married, and then it was too late. The first part of that is actually true. I didn't know what happiness was until I got married. I didn't know. I was just kind of a half walking around trying to solve problems by myself. But when I got married, why, we two became one, as Jesus told us, and together we solved various difficulties and problems through the 50 years, and that would have daunted either one of us individually. Another of my gags that I tell people about to be married is that science tells us that married people live longer than unmarried people, but a lot of people just think it seems longer. But even that joke is not true. It actually, the time has flown by. These 50 years together have absolutely flown by, and they were the happiest 50 years of my life. But anyway, I'm supposed to tell the secret of a long and happy marriage. It's kind of like when somebody turns 100, they ask them the secret of their long life, and we never do learn anything from what they say, because really there's just genetics, and so the same thing will happen here. I'll tell you the secrets of a long marriage, but you probably know more about it than I do, all of you except Ryan and Alicia, who just got married back there. So we can pretend I'm just giving them my grandfatherly advice. Time magazine last week had a cover story, a great huge article about getting married and how to stay married, it said on the cover. And you plow through this huge article, and at the end, the conclusion is, if you want to stay married, why, be careful who you marry. But by the time you read that, it's too late. You've already married someone. Ben Franklin said about the same thing years ago: marry in haste and repent at leisure. Well, Judy and I sort of married in haste. We just dated one semester and fell in love and got married. Zap, just like that. But we never did repent. We have we have been happy all of those years together. One interesting thing is sometimes people marry in haste, and then they try and make over their partner into something that he was not to start with. And I have to give Judy credit that she was never harping at me all the time to change. When we got married, I smoked cigarettes, and I knew she didn't approve of it, but she didn't pester me every day about smoking. And eventually, when we had kids, I quit because I wanted to be a good example to them. And another thing is, I'm convinced that Judy doesn't like my beard. And I know that she doesn't like all those misled elves hanging around my workshop. But if I ask her, how do you like my beard, she always says, it doesn't matter how I like it, it's how you like it that counts. Well, I think that we actually it's kind of like those old people that their genetics cause them to live old. I think we have kind of a marital genetics that God just created us to be very compatible and well matched. Judy and I just automatically agree on almost everything without even trying to. I remember when we built our new house and we went to pick out all the different colors and tiles and different things. The contractor simply couldn't believe how smooth it went because he said couples usually argue and sometimes they even storm out in anger when they're trying to pick out things. But anyway, we just naturally agree on most things. And the articles and studies always say that whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, the divorce rate's about the same. But I personally think that having Jesus Christ in our marriage and in our lives gives us a joy and a peace that's bound to help our marriage. And also being Christians, we get a lot of good advice in the Bible. The Bible has lots and lots of good advice about marriage. You know, there's that love chapter in 1 Corinthians. And if you just read that and you try to be what love is, patient and kind and all of those other things that Paul tells us about. Read that once in a while, Ryan, and that will and that will help you. Also, the Bible, I think in Philippians says, consider others better than yourself. Well, that not only worked really well in just living and being with your friends and neighbors, but it's good advice for your marriage to consider your spouse as better than yourself and try to put your spouse ahead, her needs or his needs ahead of yours. I always remember when Judy lost her arm and she was coming out of the anesthetic and she finally opened her eyes and saw our son Herein and me standing by her bed. And when they took the tubes out of her mouth and she could talk, the first thing she said was, "Don't worry about me. Take care of Daddy. This is harder on him than it is on me." Another thing is to enjoy doing things together. I learned to ride horses because that's what Judy likes. And Judy knows all about clocks and clock parts and woodworking tools. I remember when our bricklayers were working and Judy found one of their tools out in the yard and she took it to the head bricklayer and said, "Is this your sliding T-bevel?" And he said, "Yeah, it's mine, but I didn't know what it was." And after 50 years together, Judy and I never do run out of things to talk about. Mostly I just listen. There was that guy that said, "My wife says I never listen to her," or something like that. I always listen to Judy, and she has some interesting things to say. We were riding our horses recently, and Judy said to me, "I went out in the woods yesterday to look for tooth fairies." And after I prevented myself from falling off my horse, I said, "Would you repeat that?" She said, "I said I went out looking for gooseberries." Well, I don't wear my hearing aids when we're riding. Well, I want to close by quoting two little poems. One by a great poet and one by me. The Scottish poet Robert Burns wrote such a cute little, sweet little poem about being married for a long time, and it's called "John Anderson, My Joe." Joe is a sweetheart in Scottish English. "John Anderson, my Joe, John, when we were first acquaint, your locks were like the raven. Your bonny brow was brent, but now your brow is bald, John. Your locks are like the snow, but blessings on thy frosty brow, John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe, John, we climbed the hill together, and mony a county day, John, we've had we in another. Now we maun totter down, John, and hand in hand we'll go, and sleep together at the foot, John Anderson, my Joe. The other poem, let me get a sip of tea here. The other poem is one I wrote 20 years ago for our 30th anniversary. Excuse me. And this same Bob Lloyd, whom I forgot to introduce as a distinguished guest, did the music back then, and he's going to play music for us today. Hope that he will sing a couple of songs, and this is his wife, Doreen. But anyway, I wrote that poem back then for Judy, and it says in there something about being middle-aged, and I couldn't change that because old didn't rhyme. Well, of course, that is called dinosaurs and stuff. About 1 million years ago, while rocks were still brand new, God planned a perfect mate for me, and I think that was you. It took 1,000 eons and dinosaurs and stuff, but now I've finally got you, and what a sweet cream puff. We met a few decades ago, and I thought you were fine. My hopes and wishes all came true when you said you'd be mine. We've ridden horses, raised some kids, and cooked a meal or two, and that old love I felt for you is still as good as new. In love, we walk together from youth to middle age, and years stretch out ahead of us like an unwritten page. Let's live those years together until the very end. In heaven, there's no marriage, but I'll be your best friend. Thank you.